Okay. Welcome back to the Bet on Her podcast. Today we have Kashi Walmer. She is the founder of KCW Consulting Group, which is a full-service consulting firm specializing in brand management and development, public relations, sponsorship procurement, contract negotiation, and women-focused partnerships. Welcome, Kashi.
Wow, did I write that? That's a good bio.
That is
my
all
bio.
Gina.
I forget. Is that you? You took some of mine.
I took some of it.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was like, good, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm flattering myself. Okay.
So fun fact about Kashi and myself is she is actually my manager. So she's helped me throughout pretty much my whole entire beach volleyball career with sponsors and contracts and brand management and all of that. So it's been so amazing to work with you. And now I'm just so excited for you to be here and you can share all your knowledge with us and listeners and athletes and whatnot. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Gina. It's just funny when she says I'm her manager because I feel like Gina's my friend. I feel like everybody I work with is a friend. And so whenever I'm at her house or something and her dad's like, this is such and such, oh, this is Kashi's her manager. I'm like, oh, I'm not her friend. I feel like I get delegated to just your manager. So I feel like I'm more than that to you.
You definitely
are. And the people I work with, I feel like I'm an amazing friend.
Yeah.
So.
You're a mentor too. Like you're just.
I'll take it.
Yes, you're very knowledgeable. So I kind of want to just start with about your KCW Consulting Group. So like, obviously I know you manage myself and some other, some people, but I kind of wanted to learn more about exactly what you do consulting wise, because I know it's more than just with athletes.
Yeah. So athletes is such a small part of it. When people ask me what I do, I say my big thing is I put words to people's dreams. That's it. So I find brands, companies, I find individuals, and I bet on them. Like I invest in them. I kind of say like when I met Gina, I invested in her like a startup. I had all these brands that I wanted to work with, but I didn't have any athletes. And so Gina was supposed to be my fitness model. She was just supposed to be, she wasn't playing on the AVP. And I needed somebody who was supposed to just be like this beautiful, ethnically ambiguous. They didn't want a white girl. They wanted a girl who was ethnically ambiguous. And at the time, I didn't even know what nationality she was. I was just like, oh, she looks like she's Hispanic. She looks Black. And so that's really how I started my company. And then the idea was, how do I find brands? How do I find partnerships that make sense for whoever I'm working with? So I can meet someone, talk to them and say, what are you trying to do? And sometimes people don't have the words for it. So I listen and I figure out, okay, this is what I think you're saying. And then we come up with a plan. We figure things out. And every now and then, I think it's like every 6 to 8 months, Gina and I have this like, what are we going to do? Let's come to, what's the next plan? And that's kind of what I do in a nutshell. And it doesn't just mean just athletes. It's anything, anybody. I mentor companies. I mentor young kids doing NIL stuff. I mentor people who own companies who are now looking for a second new life. People post-divorce like myself. So I just really like to give my opinion, basically. That's kind of what I do.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, well, they're very, very valuable opinions, and you've helped me a ton. So, but you started out as an agent.
Yes.
Right? And so like, I kind of want just some clarity for listeners too, is like the difference between an agent and a manager, and the benefit or why one would want one versus the other or both.
So for the sport you guys are playing, or the sport that we know, which is volleyball, it's very hard to find an agent because the work that goes into doing agent work is so hard. I remember we have to do pitch decks. We have to come up with what's your brand, what's your message, new picture, all that stuff costs money. If you don't have an agent with money behind you, it's really hard. And so to invest in that for someone in, let's say, an Olympic sport, extreme sport, which would be like volleyball, softball, soccer, something that doesn't have a professional league afterwards, like the big four, like the NBA or NFL or baseball or hockey. For those people with the investment, there's just not a big return. And so what I did was I was like, hey, I have friends who are playing these sports. They're amazing. I know these companies. And I was in sales. I was like, I can ask that guy for $20,000. I can ask that guy. He says no, I'll just ask him again. And so that was me trying to be an agent. And then what I found out, it was really, really hard to do because you're basically cold calling people. So as an agent, you are negotiating deals for your client. You're actively looking for deals and negotiating them for your client. As a manager, you are managing the decisions they make with those agents, right? So it becomes like, if you are an actor, your manager's job is to get you the best agent you can have, right? And so an agent has different percentage fees. They can only get so many percentage on the front, where managers get percentage of everything on the back. And it varies depending on what you're talking about. But for the sport that we have right now, I don't really think people in niche sports really should have agents. They should have managers, and they should be building everything up, because what you have to give to those agents is so expensive. So if you make a deal for $20,000, you got to give them at least 15, 20%, right? Where if you have a manager, and there's no guarantee it's going to follow up, where if you have a manager, they're building, okay, this partnerships makes sense. This over here does it. But some people have both and it works. But those people are the top 1%, right? And I'm not saying if you shouldn't have an agent or a manager. If you can have both, great. If they're finding you deals, great. It's just not as likely for a lot of people. So if you have an agent and a manager, great job. You're doing a good job. But there's a lot of deals out there, but it's a lot of hard work. And so I applaud companies that are working with women. I always talk to G and my other clients about how there's opportunities for everybody. Like, I remember when you were doing you had your whole Gucci scene, you had a cat, you had this whole thing.
Typical Tuesday.
I thought you should have branded that. I thought you should have gone to the AVP and really pitched that and really done some really cool stuff with it. But it's okay. There's more opportunities. I think everybody, like, I know you always wear a hat. So I made a little joke when I came in, like, oh, you don't have a hat on. If I were you, I would be branding and pitching. Everything would have you with a hat and glasses, and that's your thing, right? Yeah. And so I think that we all have opportunities to do these things. And sometimes it's hard to do the work for those things. And we just want somebody to come in and say, well, what should I do? Where should I go? When the reality is like, you're going to be the best person for yourself to figure it out. You're going to be the best person. You the best. And so, if you can find an agent that's going to help you in your sport, get an agent. If you can find a manager, if you're lucky enough to have a management company that has all that encompassing, great. It's just not as likely. So what we as women have to really do is we have to really hone into what we know and what we're good at and really just exploit it, right? Like I just told you 3 things that you guys could do. Like, that would be great. Like, I like Emily Day. Emily Day is a great mathematician, and she does all this stuff. And all of her sponsors align with the fact that she's a mathematician.
Yeah.
It makes sense. So I always tell people, I think she's done a great job with how she markets herself. I love how she does it. She was my good friend Jen Cassie's partner a long time ago. And she's a new mom. Congrats.
Yeah.
So I think that if everybody looks at how they can personally represent who they are and what their specific knowledge is and what makes them unique, they'll find sponsorships and deals. But everybody wants a Gatorade deal. Sorry, you're not April Ross. Only April Ross is going to have a Gatorade deal. Okay. Right?
So how can I get Gucci on board?
Well,
I'm coming to you right now.
Right, well,
Gotta start with the
Hashtag
glasses,
Gucci, I don't
right?
want to get sued. But.
So let's say you want Gucci on board.
Yeah.
So how do you use your platform at UCLA and this podcast to create something that Gucci hasn't already seen? Well, that's the big question, right?
Right.
So it's not a sit here and figure it out right now. It's really, how do you sit down with yourself and tap into what makes you funny? Like, you're really funny, right?
No, you are funny.
Yeah,
You're
you are.
funny. So when
you.
people say I'm funny,
You're funny.
no, but I'm saying if you were to say I'm funny, you're not really funny. When somebody else says you're funny, that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. So my point is that you have to sit down and be like, okay, if I really want to do this, how do I make it where it's me?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so what Gina does really good, she has her Sandy Chirango thing, did I pronounce it right?
Yeah.
She has Zuka the Pit. She has all this stuff. So when we first did deals for her, it was like, let's pick Will Russ, everything we could do, philanthropic partnerships to make sure that everybody knew that she wasn't just a volleyball player. She had all these other facets that made her so cool. And to toot your own horn, how long have we been together? Was it 7, 8 years?
I think it's like almost 10.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
So I always tell Gina, I'm so proud of her because for 10 years, we've had some of the best partnerships. And I get proud. I'm always proud of her because, it was a long road and she's kept so many great sponsors for a very, very long time and they love working with her. And that has nothing to do with volleyball. So if Gina has what happened during COVID year and she didn't play a lot, it doesn't matter because her partnerships, they believe in Gina. Her platform is the AVP. But their deal is with Gina.
Yeah.
So then how important are having relationships?
It's
with
the most
these-
important.
Yeah.
It is the most important thing.
It is the most important.
I really felt myself get very articulate on that one.
Can I just say that kind of reminds me of what Misty said, how she was like, those relationships. I'm not getting a sponsor for the sake of getting a sponsor. It's a relationship. So even beyond into her retirement, they still supported her.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's the mindset. So what ends up happening is everybody comes out on tour, or if they're young and they're not, maybe it's not on the AVP, maybe it's on a different tour. And they're like, this is what I did. This is how great I am. You got to sponsor me. That's not how it works. You've told them nothing about what you're going to do for that brand. You've told them absolutely nothing. You just said that, hey, I'm hot stuff.
The blazer
Thank
shoulder
you.
pads are
Thank
really
you.
bouncing.
Those are my shoulders, by the way.
Whoa.
Oh, maybe.
Get it together. Get
Sorry,
it
my
together.
bad.
Okay. So I just think it's interesting. And then we always have discussions. People approach my clients for deals. And I always say, does it make financial sense? Does it make fiscal sense? Okay. They want to give you some bathing suits. Do you love them? No. Okay. Why are we even talking about this? Okay. This is great company. I love it. Okay. Well, are they going to give you some investment into the company? Would you already spend the money on that? Yeah. Okay. How much you spend? $200-300 a month on this. Perfect. So now we're saving you $200-300. Potentially you can have a partnership deal. Maybe this is something we could talk about it. Right. And so when you start to say, how do we build relationships? How do we build partnerships so that when you leave, when let's say the person you grew that was at this company is amazing, they love you and they leave to go to another company, but that company loves you so much because of what you've done for them that they still ride with you. So when another player on the AVP tries to call for a deal, they call her manager and say, hey, by the way, such and such call for a deal. I'm like, it's okay as long as we're getting more than that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because like when I'm like quoting somebody something for like invoicing or whatever it may be, RFP or something, it's what I keep in mind is what value can you bring them or can they get out of this partnership. So it's really interesting. It's like, yeah, like look at me, sponsor me. I've gotten all of these awards and these medals and such, but like what you're saying is what they're looking for is what value are you going to bring us, the company.
The big buzzword in like consulting is value add.
Yeah.
I always say value add, right? And so
In that voice too.
in that voice.
Actually,
is
that
cool having
sounds
a microphone.
amazing in post. Oh my God, it's going to sound great.
So we always joke when we do panels and there's consultants and we're like, someone's like, yes, and I bring value add. It's like, okay. So the idea is, we'll use Gina because she's here. I know this makes you uncomfortable when we talk about
It's
you.
fine.
Let's talk about it.
Let's do it.
But what Gina does is we make sure, let's say social media. If Gina has too many volleyball pictures, what do I send you a text message?
Mix it up.
Mix it up.
Yeah.
We already know you play volleyball. If she is, I love all of her content with her dog. I don't have an animal. I have children. Those are my animals. And so I love all the stuff with Zuka, right? And so her mother's amazing. We love you, Kathy. Shout out to Kathy. I'm still waiting for my fresh fruit to be delivered to my house.
That's on me.
And so I want her to do more stuff with Kathy, home and gardening, eating. I want her to have a little segment on what's growing in Kathy's backyard. She does it here and there, but it's not consistent. And so when you go to her Instagram, which is basically like your deck, we used to always make decks for the athletes. Now nobody cares about your deck. Now they just go to social media. That's their deck. They can see the numbers. They can see your views. You can't force the numbers. You can't say, oh, I had this many views. Like they can go see it. And you know exactly who she is. She loves dogs. She plays volleyball. She's into fashion. You know who Gina is. I can go to some pages right now and I couldn't tell you what they do, their personality, their name. They all look the same. And so you have to think about when an advertiser is thinking about, I want you to pitch my brand. And they look at your social and your social has grainy crop pictures or screenshot pictures, or the caption is terrible, or I don't even know. There's so much bad stuff out there. Now, I can say this because I'm not trying to get a deal. So you go to my Instagram. My Instagram tells you who I am. I like Sauvignon Blanc. I have 2 children. I'm recently divorced. I like to dance. I'm a Laker girl. Like, the point is that you're supposed to be able to see that person on social media and be like, that is who I'm meeting. So many times you meet people in person. I will go on set for stuff and I'll be like, that's not the girl on social media. Like, we'll be on set for something. I'm like, that's not the same person.
Catfish. Interesting.
It's not the same. I'm talking, not for my clients.
Yeah.
We'll go and be doing a commercial or something and I'll be like, oh, that's her. That's not her. And so the idea is that we want that to happen. So whenever we go someplace and people meet Gina or my other clients, they're like, wow, you're more beautiful. Like, it's really genuine. And these are women, other women complimenting these people.
Well, and I think one of the biggest things that I was struggling with a few years ago was like, we wanted to work with women focused brands because that's a big thing for you. And that's obviously a huge proponent for all of us. And like, if you looked at my demographics, I was 75% male, obviously, because I'm in a bikini, right? And then 25% women. And we're like, how can we grow women? And honestly, ever since we've started this podcast, I am now like 65% women, which is like so cool, that we're doing. Regardless, like, I just think that's a big thing too, is to make sure that your demographics are tailored towards the brands that you're wanting to potentially work with. But then also like you were going back to what you were saying, is like working with brands that not only you add value to, but that you genuinely believe in, because it's not going to ring true or feel genuine if you're if you're just holding up a bottle in your hand, like, I love this. And it's not as, I don't know.
It's not authentic.
No.
And Gina and I talk about it. When brands reach out, the first thing I say is, she'll be like, this person reached out. I'm like, how does their food taste? How do you like it? And what does their logo look like? And I'll be like, I hate the logo. She'll be like, oh, well. I'm like, nope, it's a no.
Why the logo? Why is that such?
Because the logo represents you. Like, if you go with it's all cohesive. It all has to be cohesive. You remember, if you have a bunch of random brands that have cross messaging, cross demographics, how is the big brand going to be like, oh, I want to work with you? Neutrogena's not going to be like, I want to work with Gina, and she's got to deal with a company that is not aligned with what Neutrogena is aligned with. It's just how it works.
Yeah.
So when you do the money grab, it's very easy, and you get that instant gratification in the moment because you're like, oh my God, this person's giving me $10,000 or $15,000. But the reality of it is there's no longevity to it. Then you have that panic 6 months into the season, your finishes aren't as great, and you're trying to renegotiate those deals, and there's no leverage. So I used to be like, when I first started my company, I'd be like, okay, go into your bathroom. Whatever you spent money on, remember, I always do, whatever you spent money on, we're going to reach out to those brands. La Roche-Posay, whatever you want, whatever you love, we're going to do it. When you go to the store and you're like, oh, I love that brand, but I just can't afford it right now, we're reaching out to those brands. Because that's an authentic partnership. That's something that you love, that you're going to spend money on, and it makes sense. So then when the deal that you have says you have to do 2 static posts, it doesn't feel like, oh God, I got to post that today.
There's passion behind
There's a lot of over-delivering. Gina, our clients over-deliver all the time.
Well, like with blenders, it's so easy. I love their sunglasses. I wear sunglasses every day on
Discount
the sand,
20.
off the court.
Yep.
Yeah.
Your angle 20.
Well, blenders is a great, let's sidetrack here, but blenders is a great thing because Gina will meet people and bring opportunities to me. And it has to make sense because Gina's so passionate and so kind. I'm not as kind. And so sometimes I have to be like, that doesn't make any sense. And she was really fighting for blenders. And we said, let's go talk to these people. We went to their office in San Diego. We had a great time. They have a great team. Only one guy who was with the original team is not there anymore. But I was like, wow, this is like, for the price point and the quality, it's great. And I was like, this is going to be a really good deal. And I remember, we've been with them for a long time.
Yeah, like 5 years.
Every time we go to an event with blenders and I try and show up and support, they just treat us like we're royalty. They love us. Gina really helped shape out their active line. She was they would send her specs. She'd break stuff apart. She's like, the nose here. I'm like, I don't know. It looks good to me, But that every time we see them, the president of the company, they were starting out, and she was like one of the first people they really invested outside of surf into. And to this, right?
Well, now they're sponsoring Red Bull Racing,
Yeah.
which is just that Formula One team, which
yeah,
is so
that's
crazy.
huge.
Yeah.
And we're just grateful because
Yeah.
they take care of her and she is their darling.
Yeah.
So we're very happy.
So as a manager, you like to encourage your clients to like make these deals, or do you take the initiative? Because it sounds like Gina, you wanted blenders and you kind of let her do it.
Well, what's supposed to happen? Even if you have especially when you have an agent, if someone approaches you, which is what happens, okay, your job is to take that information to your representative. Okay. You don't get to be like, well, they reached out to me. I'm going to negotiate the deal myself and not pay your person. They're always supposed to be included. Your job is to always have your team included. So people will message her, and I want them to message her because I want people to feel like they're talking to the person. I come in when I have to, like, she's basically she's saying, because she knows, she'll be like, well, I go, Gina, what's the base? You already know. She's like, oh, well, I'm just, Gina, what's the base? We don't do anything for less than this. And sometimes I know she knows, she gets annoyed with me because I'm a little short sometimes on text message and phone. But if people want to feel like they have accessibility to you. So I want people to be like, if they see Gina and be like, oh my God, my friend has this company, why not? That's what the sport that you guys are in. It's about accessibility, right? But there's also a level of professionalism. So I hear people, they'll be like, well, this is what we're giving such and such and such. And I was like, that's great, but that's not what we're doing. And I always tell people, never negotiate against yourself. So if someone wants to do a deal with you, have them write it up. There's no verbal contracts. Put it in writing and send an email. So if someone's like, hey, I want to do something with you, great. I think that's great. You're drinking out at Shellbacks. That's great. Your job is like, hey, here's my email. Email me tomorrow with that. I'm not going to remember. Mm-hmm. And then the next day, like, hey, they're serious. They're sober. Hey, bud, remember I met you last night at Shellbacks? Remember you said you wanted to do a deal with me? Here's my email. Let me know what you guys are thinking. Well, what are you thinking? Well, why don't you tell me what you're thinking? It's not your job to do their job.
So, okay, we've covered a lot. I feel like you've answered a lot of questions I've already written down.
I told you I talk a lot.
Yeah, I know.
Listen, I love this. This is great for editing as well.
We're taking
We're just going to let her
Yeah.
roll on
Yeah.
Kashi. Yeah.
We've covered a lot on like brand management and the importance of that. And then obviously we're getting into like the contract negotiation stuff. So like when they do give you something back of like what they're looking for, what are important things to include or pay attention to in a contract?
It varies by sport. I'm a manager. I'm not an agent. I'm not a lawyer, right? Everybody, including my job, is to give you my opinion. You're paying your manager for their opinion. Okay. So Gina is this very smart girl. Gina might be like, well, this is what I want to do. But she's going to do what she wants to do. There's sometimes when she does deals for friends, she'll be like, well, my friend has it. I'm like, oh, fine, just do it. But the big thing is that for the sport that we're in, you have to make sure that you know what your worth is. If somebody is telling you they want to pay you, say, $1,000 a month for something, which, by the way, whenever you do deals, you should have them paid monthly or quarterly. You don't want two big payments because a lot of things can happen. For the sport that you guys are in, because it's so cyclical, because it's so, you never know what's going to happen, I would get payment monthly. Bigger deals, they probably pay twice a month, but those are bigger deals. There's big contracts, big lawyers. But when we're talking about like smaller companies, I would get paid monthly. So you can manage your finances and know, okay, this is how much money I could have coming in. What I would always try and do is see what is in perpetuity. So if someone's saying, oh, I'm going to pay you $500 a month, and I get rights to your name, image, and likeness, and there's no term on it, that means that
Red flag.
but you won't think about it. You won't think about it. So your job is to make sure that there's a term in there, right? To make sure that it's like for the term of this deal. So if this deal is 6 months, you can use me for 6 months. So if they're cool, it could be 6 months to a year, right? They'll usually ask for a static post, which means You have to put it has to stay on your feed for at least a year. And you can delete it if you want. That's what a static post is. Well, yeah, you'd probably do it if you were sponsored by Wilson probably, and you probably had it on your feed. You can cut this out later. But
it's all there still for me.
Yeah, but because you don't think about it. But some
I would
people
never think to delete it, but
well, a lot of influencers, they're like, it's only up for this amount of time. You look at the big influencers, that's what they do, right? But for athletes, we're not like nickel and dime. We're like, whatever. I think it's important to be like, your job as a professional athlete. These people are supposed to sponsor and support you. If you feel like you can't do what they're asking of you, don't do it. And a lot of times it's something as simple as like them being like, well, we want 3 hours a week of this. It's like, why am I giving you 3 hours a week for $500? I can give you 3 hours a month around my schedule. So we call those service days. So we always have service days. So for this price, you can get 3 to 5 service days a year. It could be a volleyball tournament. It could be a signing. It could be, host bartending, but you get 3 to 5 per year. Otherwise, the next thing you know, every Friday night, you're over there and you're doing whatever you have to do, especially if it's a local company, right? So that's why your partners matter. You want to make sure you have good partners. Now, listen, if you love tequila and it's a tequila company and they're like, hey, we're going to give you cases and we want you to come to this. And, Mark Wahlberg is the person you're like, oh, I don't mind. I'll be there. But, that's not realistic for you. So I think you got to just really look at what they're asking for and be okay with saying, I'm not available for this. Because if you have to work for that money, it's supposed to literally be helping you. But if you're like, God, I gotta go over here. I got to do this. They want me to do like 3 clinics this week. And are you kidding me? You know how much I charge for a private?
Wow.
That's being honest. I really charge a lot for a private.
Do you think athletes then limit themselves when it comes to finding sponsors?
Yeah, like what have you learned as far as what's happening?
Nobody wants to work. Everybody says they want to do it, but nobody wants to do it.
Why do you think that is?
Then they're just naive. I mean, listen, we talk about this all the time. Let's talk about just beach volleyball. There's a difference of players that played indoor and that play beach than kids who just go to the beach. They go, no shade. There's some great kids that probably would not have gotten scholarships indoor that go beach. And there's some kids who could go both beach and indoor and they choose beach. But I'm saying when you have a pedigree of the discipline that comes with playing indoor, it's a different type. It's a different hustle. And so what happens is people just think like, I look cute in a bathing suit. I'm going to show up and I'm going to get deals. Like I have 50,000 followers. I'm going to get deals. That's real. I've seen people do that. Yeah. I've seen marketing like there's nothing but volleyball pictures and then a couple like
side shots
and everybody's Instagram looks the same. It's the same filter. And when I say filter, not like they're filtering themselves, it's like the same like grid filter. It all looks the same. Like I'm not trying, but I'm trying, and nobody wants, they just assume that they're supposed to have these deals. And nobody wants to work for them. So then when they see other people with deals, then it's like, then you guys are crazy. You guys talk about your deals. You guys tell people how much money you guys make. I told Gina, I go, if anybody asks you how much money you make, you send them to me.
Listen, throw away the key.
Shut it up. Zip it.
As you guys are podcasters, it's nobody's business how much money you make. If somebody calls you and emails you and say, hey, I want to know, I'm thinking to start a podcast. You can still be a great empowering woman and be, hey, this is what I would do and not tell all your business. You guys, women sometimes feel like they have to give everything to everyone all the time. No, I'm the queen of no. And you guys have to be the queen of no. It is so empowering to say no and to set boundaries. And so you guys are doing this great thing. Listen, you should feel flattered that 5 to 10 more people want to start a podcast. You should feel flattered, okay? But it's not your job to tell people your business.
I have no problem. I don't share my business at all.
Right?
Yeah,
I have no problem with that.
Like G's job, like as a manager also, I'm supposed to be here to give her advice. So when you guys are doing this, she was like, what should I do? I go, nothing less than this. I get very like
direct.
I have children. So I'm like very short tempered sometimes. And like, I'll get a text from my clients and I'll be like, I want to answer, but then it's like, I can't. So then it comes back really like, so I'm like, oops, sorry. I do. Sorry about that.
You do come back and apologize. Which
I
is-
do, but I'd be like, what are you talking about? I just told you this. Wait a minute. Gina's not my daughter. Wait, let me stop. Gina pays taxes. Sorry. My bad.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree because everybody's different and everybody's, like, I don't know. I just think it's really important to keep your business to yourself as well. But also, what about like, because I know that obviously in our sport too, there's a lot of brands maybe that are smaller or don't have the means quite yet, or just want to like see how it goes with you first, that do like in-kind product, right? So like, what is your take on accepting in-kind product versus like maybe potentially something in the future?
This is what I would suggest for an in-kind sponsorship. It has to make sense, and everything is different. So Dana, what's your favorite thing that you spend money on all the time?
Cameras.
Okay. So if Canon came to you and said,
Sony.
"What would you do?" Right?
Sony.
Because you're like, or let's say Sony. Sony reaches out. By the way, if any of this is Sony, you should be tagging Sony, by the way. Okay. So if Sony approaches you and says, "We love what you're doing. We want to send you something in kind," and you're like, "Wait a minute. That value of that Sony is $600." Okay. And they say, all you have to do is send us pictures and we have the rights to your pictures. Now, well, that's different. So, whoa. Is my talent worth $600? Do I want to give them the rights to me for $600? Or do I just pay the $600 for the camera later when I can afford it? What happens is, people are just taking, like we talk about bathing suits. Like, really? You can get blanks on Alibaba Express and make your own bathing suits, right? So is it really worth it to do that? So I think the thing is that if you want to do in kind, it has to be a brand that you love that makes sense. And then I would do a 60-day deal. I would say, I would like to do, if you believe in the brand, I will do an in kind deal with you. And in kind means I need product, and you get to tell them how much product you want. They don't get to say, you only get this and this. I want 2 of everything. I want a coupon code with my name on it. And I want a percentage of that on the back end, right? And after 60 days, we're going to see how much my coupon code got for you. And if my let's say the product is $10. And if you're paying me a good commission and my product code is being used all the time, okay, and I see how much I'm making you and how much you're paying me, that's your leverage. Especially if you love the brand. If you don't give a crap about the brand, you just move on.
60 days. Just take the free product.
Take the free product.
Yeah.
And then you do one step, you do a post, you don't make it static. You say the post will stay up for the term of the deal. The term of the deal is 60 days. You delete it after if you don't. And that way, if another brand comes up, so say Sony offers you the camera, and then another company, another new up and coming camera company comes, you're not stuck with that deal with a non-compete because you only did a 60-day term. Right?
Yeah.
So then you always want to give yourself an out. So when you have a new company that you don't really know, I would say, let's just do a 6-month deal. And if they say, well, we don't want to pay that price, I go, okay, we'll do a 3-month deal and it's going to cost you more. Because she's taking the risk.
Yeah.
They're not taking the risk.
Know your value.
Yeah, for sure.
And we like to walk away. We're the queen of walking away. Well, sorry. Sometimes I make her walk away.
There have definitely been a few times in my career where I'm like, oh, this product, like they're willing to give me like this much, which is like a little less than maybe what I'd been getting. And I think they're really cool or whatever. And then you were like, nope, not worth your time. It's not worth it. Or maybe we negotiating wise, like we come back and say this number and then they say, sorry, we can't. And then, and me wanting to be like, well, what if you just said this instead?
She's always like, what if you, and I could see her typing and I'm like, no, not worth. And you have to think about my time talking to her because she's I like that she's involved. I like that sponsors feel like they can go to her directly. I'm just there to help out, facilitate stuff. If they need something, they should be able to reach out to her for how we do things, right? Because sometimes a lot of the partnerships, they become personal. They really are rooting for G. I mean, some people, like we go back to Blenders, the photographer, you were his first big shot, and even we go to talk to our boy Joe with Getty Images. Like, we have so many great partners and people that we love that love working with you, that have our back and we want to have their backs. And so I think it's important that they always have access. But, sometimes people just are too cool to build the relationship. and they don't want to be built. They don't want to be dealt with. I got to go work out. I got to go, get PT. You got to think about what you're going to do, because you blow your knee out, you injure yourself, you take a break. There's no money coming in. This is not the sport where money's guaranteed. Entry level to the tournaments is not guaranteed.
Yeah, nope.
And so what is so important for women to understand, because I don't really care about the men, honestly, is that you have to understand that this sport is only a platform, and everything else you do becomes a platform. And they're all little pieces of a big pie. And if you put all your eggs in that one basket, we all know what happens there, right? There's always disappointment. And that's where the anxiety comes from. Like, oh my God, I didn't get in the qualifier. I didn't have a good finish. And there's that anxiety. But if you're like, oh wait, okay, it's okay. I have this over here. I have this over here. I have this over here. It helps manage your mental health. It helps you stay present. And, it helps you. And you become a better player and athlete and a business person. And the reality is, this is a business. If you go into it thinking you're a business, you're a professional athlete. You should sit down at the beginning of every season and be like, how much is it going to cost for the coach? How much is it going to cost to travel? That should be your goal. And sometimes it changes. I remember one year, Gina was going to go international. She's like, we need more money. We need more deals. We're going international. We're going to do some, when you and Benny decided to do maybe some Norsecas or whatever.
Maybe it was with Caitlin.
Okay, maybe. But, and you have to say, okay, this is the cost of living. Okay, so this is what my bills are going to be this year. Then I need to make sure that I'm making like 80% of that in sponsors. And it's so funny because sometimes I forget. I'm like, what are you making? What is this? I'll be like, and I always forget. I'm like, what's the contract again? She's like, Kashi. So we have a little banter, and I'm like, okay, I just want to make sure. I'm always like, you got to make more money this month, right? I'm like, okay, all right, let me see. Okay, all right. And I'll just randomly be like, oh, I had a great idea. Reach out to this company. And then sometimes they work and sometimes they don't.
Yeah. It's a lot of good advice for athletes out there who are current, professionals or even NIL players that are wanting to get into that too in the college space. But I want to divert it a little bit towards maybe women who want to follow in your footsteps and take on that role. Like what are some pieces of advice that you have for women that are trying to get into your industry or want to manage athletes or work with athletes and to that extent?
Well, it all depends. I know there's a lot of female managers in the big four, like NBA, NFL, hockey. There's a lot of managers. A lot of the big companies have a lot of female managers. There's some great corporate companies. I work with Wasserman. My good friend is at Wasserman. So you can go the corporate route, which is like, going through college and studying all that stuff. I did not think I was going to be doing this at all. I just was loud and obnoxious, and I worked in sales, and I was like, let me try and hook my girl Jen Kessie up with some stuff. Like that was how it started. I'm like, I know people, but I think if you really want to do it, if you are up and coming, if you're in college, I would suggest you get with your sports information director at the college that you're at and use what you have access at your college. I mean, when you're in college, you're a god. I was a god at USC. God, those days. And
Go Bruins.
Fight on. Those Bruins. They're such haters. Anyway, listen.
A lot of love.
Listen, I don't even, I'm talking trash to a national champion.
Yeah.
But you know what? I won the 6-man. So don't you ever forget that. Okay?
I've won my fair share of 6-mans too.
Okay, I only won one. But I got second 12 times in a row. Okay. But I would go to my sports information director. I would use them. I would talk to them. And while I was in college, I didn't do this. If I were in college now, I would say, I really want to get into management, sports management. I want to do an internship, which is hard for athletes because you don't get the time to do like the mentorship and internships that other kids do. So I would then, let's say a lot of kids go home. If you lived on the East Coast and let's say you're at USC, I would have the sports information guy call as many East Coast schools that are near your home and see if you can come in and shadow that person for 2 weeks, right? If you're post-college, what I would do, luckily we're in Los Angeles, there's so many sports teams, there's so many things here. I would reach out. I would go to everybody has a directory. I would basically get on Indeed or Instagram your favorite companies and just look at the people who are leading the edge and message them. Just message them. I mean, I stumbled upon this. I did this for myself. I am lucky that I have so many amazing mentors. And I would tell you to get a great mentor. Okay. And your mentor should be older than you and wealthier than you. Right. So what I do really well and what's helped my business, my first deal I ever got with Drip Drop for Gina and Jeremy Casebeer was through my good friend Linda Kupek. Shout out to Linda Kupek. She was at like a country club or a hunting club, and like one of the investors of Drip Drop happened to be her husband's friend or something like that. And she's like, Kashi, there's this company, and you know what? They got really cool stuff. The doctor's great, and I remember just hustling for that Drip Drop deal. It took like 2 years to get that deal because they were just starting, but that was from one of my mentors. And I've gotten more deals from people that have been my mentors who've been like, hey, my friend has a company. I think they could help you. And so I would suggest each of you guys to find mentors who are other women, not only in your space, but who are just other people who, there's a lot of women who are retired, who are geniuses here in the South Bay. You might just see them playing pickleball every weekend at the club.
Yep.
But let me tell you something. I'm talking like CEOs, amazing women locally here right now. So wherever you are, if there's your best friend's mom who always gave you good advice, or your coach's cousin or whoever, everybody should have 3 female mentors. 3 female mentors. And they all add something to, and check in on them. I am so grateful that a lot of my mentors were mothers of kids I used to coach in club volleyball. I mean, I used to make their kids cry. I didn't know who they were. I yelled at everybody. I disliked everybody equally. And I just remember these parents come up to me years later being like, whatever you need. Nobody's ever talked to my daughter, treated my daughter that way. And so I you know, all my friends are married, you know, or nobody, none of my friends are getting remarried right now. And I'm at like 5 weddings a year, and they're all kids that I used to coach, and I'm partying and I'm having a good time. And so it's all these amazing women. So everybody should have mentors, and everybody should sit down and write down these 2 questions. You're going to say to yourself,
Kelly's taking notes
yes,
over here. One.
This is for everyone. This is what I always ask in my consulting sessions. What did you love to do when you were 5 to 8 years old, when you were a child? Ask your mom, what did I used to always do? Okay. And then the next thing you're going to ask yourself is, if money was no object, what would I do? So if money was no object, if you won the $1 billion lottery and somebody walked up to you and said, here's a blank check, what would you do? And then when you figure out what you would do, then you say, wait a minute. And it may not be fast. It may be take some time. Then you're going to say, okay, you're going to circle and say, this is the goal. And your job from now on and every day you wake up is to try and get to that goal, to create steps to that goal. That's really what you do. And I realize that what I like to do is talk and give my opinion and help people.
Check. KCW.
That's what I do. I literally stumbled upon this. And so once you know your path, everything is easy. There's going to be like roadblocks and, you know, all these things that happen, but it's like waking up knowing that you're walking your path is like amazing.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's epic.
What have been some obstacles that you've had to overcome in the industry or in doing what
Well,
you do?
I'm a woman. Yeah. I'm not only a woman, I'm a Black woman. I'm by myself. There's no consulting group is my best friends. My best friends from college who help me when I'm being absolutely out of control and obnoxious and I'm being hot tempered, right? My mom, you know, my clients, you know, everybody gives me advice. Everybody's a part of this collective that helps me be the best person I can be, right? And there's always going to be obstacles. You know, I went through a divorce, 2 years ago, very amicable, great divorce. I'm so lucky that I have a great relationship with my children's father. You know, that doesn't happen for people, right? But I think that, I always say to my clients, this is just another chapter in my book. Every time you go through a different stage in your life, it's just another chapter. And so I always tell them, like, there's an app called Otter, OTTER. And whenever you have a long drive, download this app and just start talking. And it records it and then transcribes what you said into, like, you can export it to a Word doc or whatever. And so if you want to write a book or write a blog, sometimes for me, it's hard for me to sit and write, but I can talk. Sometimes you start writing like, wait, that doesn't make sense. But I can sit and talk and make sense. And so when you have that, your thoughts are going and you're feeling overwhelmed, I just open up the app and just start talking to the app. I'm like, what the freak was I talking about? And I'm like, wait, there was a gem in there. Because the one thing I learned that I always say, and the takeaway is, inspiration is fleeting. You have those moments where you're like, inspiration is fleeting. And you're like, I'll remember it later. I always stop, write it down, or record it, because you never remember those times. And then having kids, they remember everything. They're like, Mom, remember what you said? I'm like, oh my God, thank God the kids are here. They remembered that. And so the big thing is having mentors, okay? Asking yourself the question of, what is this the life I want to live? And if it's not, every day is a new day. Time only goes forward. It doesn't go back. You can't worry about what you did yesterday. You can't worry about the mistakes you did. It's just next, which is a part of the mentality of, athletes. We're special humans, right? There's a reason we play sports. It's not for the sports. It's for the camaraderie, the team building, the problem solving. That's why we're athletes. That's why we're the part of the 1%. And of that 1%, of course, there's like the 0.1%, the amazing people who go on to be Olympians and world champions. But, we have to really tap into something and realize that if we want to do better, we just have to really wake up and decide to be, do better. Happiness is a choice. It's a choice every day you make. And some days you don't choose happiness, which is okay. And so looking at you guys, I'm really proud of you guys. This has been a nice journey for you guys. It's gotten better and better every time I see it. I'm so impressed with you guys.
Thank you.
All my unsolicited advice that I give to Gina, and she's like, she has your back, you guys. I'd be going in on her. And she'd be like, and I'm like, that's my girl. Because if you knew Gina when she was younger, she wasn't as, now she's like,
Yeah,
nope.
I'm turning more into my mother. Shout out Kathy.
Oh, no. Oh, God.
So I have a question. What advice do you have, even for you, Gina, you can answer this as well. It's like, what advice do you have for a young athlete seeking sponsorship and support financially? And they're just eager to jump on something that would not be a great partnership in the long term. What advice do you have to tell them when they're young, when they're, doing well and winning all these matches and medals and such? How do you say no as an athlete and step away and say something might be better later on down the road?
I think you should answer this one first. I mean, I can give my opinion, but I think this is really good for you.
Well, I think it's really important to just stay true to yourself in that. I think authenticity, we've talked about this a lot in a lot of different podcasts. But yeah, just not taking the deal just for the deal, but somebody who's really eager to make a deal, you've got to think outside the box a little bit and find what values do you have and represent, and what brands also embody those as well. And I don't think that, you should be afraid to put yourself out there, even if it's just DMing them on Instagram or finding an email and emailing them, or finding somebody that works for them through LinkedIn and connecting through them through there. It's okay to get, what's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to say no. And then you just move on and find somebody else. So, but I just think it's so important to work with brands that share the same values that you do. And if they don't, then being okay to say no, because there's so many brands and there's so many businesses and companies and people out there. There's enough for everybody out there. It's just finding that really genuine connection.
Well, that's important. There's enough for everybody. And so many times, whether it be socially, historically, we've been positioned against each other to say there's only enough for one, right? There's enough for everyone. Second part of that is, when you're talking about you couldn't tell me at 18 anything. So if you come out of a big school like USC or UCLA, right, or FSU, and you just won a championship, and you got 8% body fat, right, and you got 25,000 followers, you can't tell me nothing, right? So I think what you have to do is, you got to remember, these are young athletes. They don't think it's ever going to end. I didn't think it was ever going to end for me, right? So let's give them a little bit of grace. It is going to end. So if there's a young athlete out there right now listening, what I would say is, right now, the deals that you have from college, if you can translate those deals post-college, and not just because, let's say you had it You had it for their senior year and it expires. If you can keep those deals post-college, and that's by building relationships, don't just take the money. Find out who the marketing manager is. Reach out. If there's an event going on in, let's say, Los Angeles, say, hey, I saw there's an event going on. Can I come and do a sign? Solicit yourself. So they're like, wait a minute. She wants to come do something for free? Oh my God. Like, especially if it's a great partner, right? I would write down 5 brands you love. 5 brands that you love. And I think you start at the top.
Gucci.
Sometimes we say it's not attainable, so let me just go over here. No, write down 5 brands that you love. Okay? And then you're going to reach out to those 5 brands. And then you're going to write down a list of 10 people that you know that own companies. 10. Mom, auntie, uncle, everybody who used to pay for all your stuff and comes to all your games. You're going to write down 10 people you know that own a company. And then you're going to write down 5 people that you know that are pseudo famous. They could be famous in your town. They could be your mom's cousin who had a hit single 10 years ago. Or they don't even feel famous to you, but to the other people, they're like notable people, right? And you're going to reach out to those people. You're going to say, hey, I'm playing on the AVP. Hey, I'm going for cycling. I don't know. And this is what we're going to do. I'm looking, because now that's not you throwing out an email blast to people that don't know you. These are people who are invested in your well-being. And if they have a company, they have a marketing budget. If they have a marketing budget, you think they're going to they might put their poster on a bus someplace or a shopping cart, but they might as well give you $10,000. Because you know why? It's written off. And then you're going to find a philanthropic company that you love. And you're going to say, hey, I would love to do some philanthropic work with you. Can I be a part of this team? And even bonus if they have celebrities attached. And then at all their events, you're going to be the volleyball player there. And then, celebrities love athletes. So that's how we did a lot of strategic partnerships. We're like, okay, everybody who works with me has to be a part of a philanthropic organization. So then it becomes, now this philanthropic organization is talking about you to their demographic. Now your auntie and uncle and everybody that you know. Then it becomes this village of people who got your back, that wants to help support you. And they're gonna do all the soliciting for you. They're gonna meet somebody who's gonna be like, oh my God, my niece, she's playing on the AVP. She's amazing. Oh my God. I'm sure for $5,000, for the whole year, you could sponsor her. No brainer. What I don't understand is how people, they get training, like coaches training for free, pay for it. You get what you pay for. You're a patch because somebody hit a ball at you. Save that space for a gym. If you're working if a gym is giving you, how expensive it is. I have a trainer. It is expensive. If a gym is hooking you up at a discounted price, that is huge. You better wear their logo on your shoulder because those guys have to make money too. And if they're giving you their time, that's so important. Yeah. We're all in business together. And the big thing is if you are a business owner, which you guys all are because you're independent, this is all your business. And there's another business owner, never ask for free. Always ask for a discount. Never do anything for free. It's disrespectful to business owners to be like, can you help me for free? And for them to ask you is disrespectful. For you to ask them. Don't say, can you hook me up and do this for free, but then you're going to pay somebody else. That's not your family.
It's kind of like the AVP when they sign on photographers and videographers. They make you sign this contract if you're not part of the staff to do it for free. And then you submit your photos if you want, to them in their folders. And then people like Travis take those photos and they put it onto their magazine and they don't reach out to you about consent or pay you for it. It's just awful.
Well, see, this is the thing.
Let's get down to it.
I think it's important that you have to understand nobody's going to have your back or your best interest but you. So if there's something in you that says this doesn't feel right, and you want to do all the stuff you do, you have to sit down. Okay, what 4 women do I know that could probably give me access without doing that? Or you suck it up and pay for an all-act. You just pay for a VIP and you just walk around and take your own photos.
Which is what I did.
Yes. But I also, you have to understand, there's people who will say yes and do it for free, which is totally fine. There are people who are like, I don't need the money. I have a friend who he just loves shooting. He's wealthy, doesn't need the money. He just loves, it's a hobby. So he's like, I really want a media pass. I want to do this. I'm like, great. But you know what? He's got 3 houses and 7 cars. He can do that. You can't, Dana.
Oh, not yet.
Not
Okay?
yet.
Not yet.
You just wait.
Okay. So I think it's important that you have to know your value. You have to know what you're giving. You have to know how to say no and walk away. But even for you guys, like right now in this moment, in the next, 3 weeks, you guys should do the same thing. Everybody you know who's famous, that's what you guys should do. And then you say, hey, we're doing this thing and we want to get into some of these programs. We want to go on. You guys should be touring. That could be a cool thing. Touring
We
USC.
talked about this too. Yeah.
I mean, could you
my
imagine?
God.
It's on our whiteboard.
yeah.
Really quick last question. There's a Murphy behind you. Hey, bud.
A what?
My dog Murphy.
That's a
Sorry.
dog.
My dog Murphy's right
Murphy.
there.
Oh my God, there's animals in here. I don't like animals, but they like me.
Oh,
They know.
I low key like animals, but if my kids knew that, they'd try to get me to have a dog, and that's not going to happen.
that's Murphy.
They say that the dog can tell, like, your aura. Animals love me. I try and be a mean, bitchy person, but the freaking animals
know
just
deep
love
down,
me.
yeah.
God. But then I have to have the persona, like unapproachable, mean, and aggressive. I like that.
So the last question here is how do you take a bet on yourself, or how have you taken a bet on yourself?
I think every day is a bet on myself. I am recently divorced, which is a big life change. And so I was talking to my therapist. My therapist is like, you understand that, it takes women 3 to 5 years to be remotely amicable talking to their ex-husbands, and 3 to 5 years to come out of financial ruin, because that's just what happens. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's not me. I have a great relationship. We're doing well. And so what's happening now is every time I get another opportunity for something, I used to always say no. I was like, oh, no, I don't need to do that. No. And now I'm in the year of yes. I'm like, yes for everything. Like I would have never done this a year ago. I've done a bunch of panels and I'm like, wait a minute, I should just do it. I mean, I am great. I'm usually just amazing behind the scenes. I was like, okay, I'll do it. And so I have a lot of really cool stuff happening behind the scenes, really cool opportunities. And I normally would have been like, wait a minute, I'm that bitch. Of course I can do that. And it's not the doubt. It's definitely not the doubt. It's just it's even for me doing something that I'm not comfortable with. I'm 44. You don't change at 44. You become more enlightened and evolved. Like, oh, maybe I don't have to be so aggressive, but like you still are who you are at the core. And so for me, I'm doing so many things that I would have never, like, I don't go nuclear anymore. That's therapy, by the way. I'm way more approachable.
Yes, definitely.
Right?
Mhm.
I'm kinder to people that I don't really know. And I think that like everybody's betting on themselves is different. Like it's like I always say, everything is relative, right? And for me, because I'm already so open, I'm already so confident, I think mine was just stepping into my greatness. I mean, I've always known I'm great. People around me know I'm great. It's like acknowledging like, wait, pretty fucking cool.
You sound like it.
Mic drop.
Pen drop.
Pretty fucking cool.
Sorry. You are.
And I'm going to leave on that note.
Thank you, everybody. And that was a bet on her podcast.
And cut.